The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
The aftermath of every social revolution brings about change. Cultural norms and landmarks shift as our minds and hearts expand beyond the familiar. To everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose in the land of the living. This is our time to renew, revive, and restore the hope lost to the busyness of life. This is our time to dig again and rebuild from the storms of our past on a solid footing that holds. Welcome to The Foundation.
The Foundation. Foundation.
The Foundation with Hart Grant is brought to you by Alive, the Bahamas Association of Athletics Associations, the Bahamas Liquidation Center, Bond for Bones, Burger King, Commonwealth Bank, Doctors Hospital, Grand Bahama News, Mason Bahamas, Marco's Pizza, Prince Masters, and Rods Electric Motors.
Foundation. The Foundation. Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation. The Foundation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company. The Foundation. It's a beautiful day right here. I don't know if it's me or my headphones. I can't hear correctly. Guys, it's a beautiful day. I'm grateful to be in your company right here live and in full of 9 FM. Continue to be able to do all that we do to ensure that we can be able to get some things done. It's a beautiful day. I want to be able to shout out all those persons that continue to be able to sponsor us and being able to support us. I got to shout out Da Vinci. Had an opportunity to be able to go there yesterday, pick up a few trinkets, little journals and whatnot. So my producer's coming in to check this. I don't know whether or not you guys are hearing it, but I can be able to hear these particular things, right? So it's a good day, guys. I want to be able to shout out my good, decent people over at AFS Insurance Agents and Brokers. They got everything laid out for you. And make sure you go down there and check them out. 3411-AFS, 3411-AFS is the weekend, so I got to be able to talk to you about being able to check out my good, decent people over at Coco Plum Bistro. Coco Plum Bistro, I'm going to be talking more about those particular persons and this weekend that they got going on here as we continue to be able to move forward. But before we do that, I want to be as decent as possible. We get NIB in the building today to be able to talk about a great deal of things that they got going on as it relates to some of the structures that they have going on. I think it's going to be January 1st. I'll let them talk about it. We're going to be able to make some things happen. Introduce yourself. Let them know exactly who you are as we get into this.
My name is, I serve as a consultant to the board in the area of training and public relations.
Sorry about that. Jason Moxie?
That is correct.
Okay, Mr. Moxie, it's very nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
Go ahead.
And my name is Rudina Baston.
Rudina Baston.
Assistant Manager of Public Relations at NIB.
Okay, so tell me exactly what we got going on now. I know that we've been on different spaces and really been able to have conversations with Dwight and all those guys. Please forgive me. We got the producer coming in trying to be able to fix a few things that we got going on right now. I know that you guys have been in good conversations with Dwight. You had a few things going on. You sent me some information about what we're going to be talking about. Let us know, because we're going to get into some stuff right now. Let us know exactly what NIB got going on. There's a lot of social speculations about, well, what this is and what they're doing from these particular standpoint. I'm sure that this is sort of the campaign to be able to bring clarity to these particular things. So talk to us about that.
Right. So July 1st, which is fast approaching, NIB has two significant things happening. We have the increase in our insurable wage ceiling as well as the increase in our contribution rates.
And one of the things, let's talk about it, it makes you cringe. Talk to me from your standpoint as a consultant. I'm sure that you're being able to provide information. I'm sure that you can be able to provide information to be able to say what is happening on the ground and how persons are feeling and how they'll be able to talk to me, Mr. Moxie. Let me know how persons are being able to take this and why at this time is it necessary to be able to identify and go to an increase.
Well, first of all, I want to speak first to the increase in the insurable wage ceiling, which is mandated by law, Section 52 of the Contribution Regulation, provide for every 2 years, the board is to take into consideration the previous 2 years' retail price index plus 2% to determine the insurable wage on which persons pay contributions. Currently, the insurable wage ceiling is that of $740 per week, which was increased from July of 2022 from $710 to $740. The intended rate of increase in the insurable wage, which comes into effect on July 1, would be $810 per week or $3,510 per month. So the wage increase will affect only those persons who earn above the current insurable wage ceiling of $740. As it relates to the
This is weekly or from a monthly perspective?
So both. So $740 weekly or the monthly equivalent of $3,510. As it relates to the rate increase is happening as a result of successive actuarial review have indicated that unless the board increase its rate of contribution, there will be no funds available to meet its obligation by the year 2028. Now, oftentimes one confuse rate increase with an insurable wage increase, but they're two distinct incidents.
Yeah, give me the difference that exists in those particular spaces. Let me know the rate increase and the insurable wage.
Okay, so the rate increase from the inception of the program was 8.8% shared between the employed person who paid 3.4% at that time, and 5.4% was paid by the employer. There was one rate increase that occurred in June of 2000 when the board introduced unemployment benefit, resulting in the rate of contribution being increased from 8.8% to 9.8%. The 1% increase was shared equally between the employee and the employer, resulting in the employee's portion of the contribution now being 3.9% and the employer's portion being 5.9%. The proposed increase, or the increase that will occur on the 1st of July, would be a 1.5% increase, which would be shared equally between the employee and the employer. In other words, the employee would pay 0.75 and the employer would pay an additional 0.75. So the rate increase will affect all employed persons. Similarly, it would be a 1.5% increase for self-employed persons. They currently pay at a rate of 8.8%. They now will pay 10.3.
And this will kick off as of
July 1st.
July 1st.
Exactly.
Okay. So I got to go hurry up pay May before this 11% comes. Okay, cool.
And similarly, there would be an increase for voluntarily insured persons whose contribution from 5% to 6.5%. Voluntarily insured persons are only eligible for retirement, invalidity, survivors, and funeral benefits. And so that's basically how the rate increase will affect not only the employed, but the self-employed and the voluntarily insured persons.
I'd like to know from your perspective and being able to understand these things. I know socially a lot of persons are kind of pulling back. I think that we are sort of in an economic crunch. If we're looking at the world is making significant moves forward, and we're seeing increases, across the board, whether it's our food, whether it's our travel, whether it's on vacation, whatever it is, we're seeing a significant increase. One of the things that we hear on a consistent basis is that I don't see an increase in my salary. That's just sort of a a knee-jerk reaction to be able to have these kind of conversations. But the truth of the matter is that when we look at these things, I don't know whether or not it's significant education for persons to have a clear understanding of why are we paying these particular increases? What value would it bring to me in the future? What is the expectation of what I can do now? I think that we're finding socially a lot of persons pushing back because their care and concern is, their current existence, not necessarily their future, their future earnings. Talk to me about how NIB is being able to approach that, to identify these things and bring clarity to why we're making these particular decisions at this time.
Okay, so as it relates to the insurable wage, you've suggested that salaries are not moving, but when the program was introduced in 1970, at that time was $110, which was relative to the salaries being earned at that particular time. Over the years, there have been multiple increases in the insurable wage ceiling, resulting in the insurable wage going to $810. Clearly, that suggests that salaries are on the increase. And so what has happened over the years, and the justification really for the rate increase has to do with when the program was first introduced, we were a relatively young population where there were 7 persons in the workforce for every 1 person in receipt of a pension. Again, life expectancy at that time for the male was 69 years of age. For the female, it was 71 years of age. Today, life expectancy for the male is 71 and a half years. For female, it's 73 and a half years. Clearly, persons are living longer, and the intent really is for a person to retire at 65, get a pension, and they die at 70, right? But today, persons are living longer, which means pensions are being paid for a longer period of time. But more importantly, today, there are only 4 persons in the workforce for every 1 pensioner. Our pension cost for the month of May was $29.5 million. There are approximately 47,500 persons receiving a pension today.
27,500?
Receiving a pension today at a cost of in excess of $29.5 million per month. Right?
Okay. And the government indicated that they had to subsidize a significant portion of this to ensure. No?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, talk to me about it. Talk to me about it. The $29 million that we see on a month-to-month basis,
Yes.
right? You have to be able to find, I just want to know the ratio first and foremost. You indicated something, and I wanted to ask that question first. You indicated that there was 4 workers to every 1 pensioner.
That's correct.
What was the proper ratio? What is the ratio to ensure that there's social balance?
Well, again, the rate of contributions that are currently being paid, when the program was introduced, it was indicated at that time that that particular rate was not sufficient in order to sustain the fund.
In the 70s.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
But the fact that we were a relatively young population.
We could make it work.
Exactly.
Okay.
So again, revenue from contributions today is estimated to be around $28 million per month.
Okay.
But the level of compliance is a cause for concern. And so therefore, on a monthly basis alone, when you look at revenue, if we collect $28 million in revenue for the month, $29.5 million has to be paid out in the form of pension.
So $1.5 million where we get a shortfall.
That's not only there. Payment of sickness, maternity, funeral, unemployment, benefit under the industrial branch, namely injury, disablement, death, and free medical care.
So how much
Nor
you-
does it take into consideration administrative expenses.
So how much you're looking for to ensure that we can be able to see ourselves in the black on a month-to-month basis?
Well, the recommendation from the actuary indicated there are a couple of things that needs to happen. One, we could look at adjusting retirement age, right? But that's over a 24-year period in order to move from 65 to 67. Or we can cut the payment of benefits, which is not going to be acceptable by those persons who contribute. And so the 1.5% increase, the board will realize maybe an additional $30 million more per year. Right?
year?
Per year.
But you're
Right.
looking for...
We're looking for almost.
You need it per month.
I mean, last year, the board's
You need
deficit.
that per month.
The last year deficit was like about $90 million.
Right.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so
This is important. This is important because it never hits home, right? It never hits home until we find ourselves in the position where once we're the laborer and we're getting paid and we can go on vacation and we can take care of ourselves and go to the bank and get our monies, that's not a concern of ours. After we hit 65 years old or something happens, there's a shift into society where now we have to be in a posture of a recipient, and then we look at how much we're bringing in. We say, Jesus Christ, they got to do better than this. I can't live off of these things, but no one's taking into consideration that period, this kind of a conversation that we're having now. How then can we make the sufficient finances to ensure that when you're on the recipient end, when you're on the receiving end, that you could live, that you could have enough finances to live? This is why contributions are important.
Absolutely.
This is why contributions are important.
Right.
Talk to me about it.
Right. But, at the same time, no one's ever meant to live solely off of NIB benefits or assistances. So in terms of person who have lost income, if you look at somebody who's receiving retirement benefit, we never recommend that you just look to receiving NIB and think you're going to live off of that. While you are working and you're able to, you should contribute to other revenue streams so that when you reach that age, you do still have a level of comfort that you can live off of. So NIB would just be one such source.
And, Mr. Moxie, going back to what you said about the 70s,
Yes.
and indicating that this wasn't even sufficient during that particular time, were there avenues that we looked at during that time to say that, okay, this may be one portion, but there needs to be supplemental income, there needs to be diversification in this area to ensure that people could live in a better way? Did we have that?
Yes, of course, because that, as a part of the board investment strategy, the board is empowered to invest the board's fund in what I could refer to as blue chip investments. And so you'd find that 89% of the board's investment are here in the Bahamas and 11% was placed overseas. And so it's income from those investments. One talk about the construction of government buildings, but that's a part of the board's lease agreement where NIB provide the financing and government in return repay the board as and when on a monthly basis.
This is a deep conversation you have with me because I want to know whether or not you scrutinize as 89% of identifying whether or not these are viable entities based upon how the world is moving forward and whether or not we should pour finances into quote unquote brick and mortars in comparison to looking at progressive technologies and concepts that exist.
Well, for a long time, the board's, the investment policy limited the investment of NIB funds in government registered stock, treasury bonds, not overseas. The overseas investment came about at a later date. I believe the board has some monies invested in the Bank of the Bahamas, Cable Bahamas, I believe the brewery, and there might be one.
Well, this is interesting and very exciting. So talk to us about what's going to be happening come July 1st and over the course of the next few months. What can we expect from that particular standpoint happening in NIB?
Well, just as it relates to the increase in the insurable wage ceiling and the contribution rates, employers and employees can expect to pay more. When we look at persons as it relates to the insurable wage ceiling, really only what we call the top earners are who are affected. So if the wage ceiling is going to go from $7.40 per week or $32.10, we're looking at persons who earn above that amount, right? Up to a ceiling of $8.10 per week or $35.10 per month, depending on how the person is paid, whether weekly or monthly. So there will be a difference as a result of that, right?
Let me ask you this question for independent workers, for the entrepreneurs and other persons who would pay their own bill. Would went from 8% to 11% as of July 1st,
Right.
correct?
No,
10.3.
It's 8.8 to 10.3.
Okay, 10.3. Okay, 10.3. Okay, 8.8 to 10.3. Now, I fall in this category. I got to pay my own insurance. I got to pay my own this, so forth and so on. So you won't necessarily know how my money fluctuates. What I bring in, whether it's over $5,000 this month or I make $500, to what the expectations are for individual working for himself. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about whether or not there is a balance, because when you're working for an entity, a corporation, and they have a responsibility for being able to give a ratio, one portion for the employer, the next portion for the employee, there is a balance. We expect to be able to see something consistent. What about those entrepreneurs? What can we expect, or what should we do to ensure that there's consistency and that it doesn't feel like burdensome on us in those particular areas?
Okay, so as it relates to self-employed persons, there are two options. If you were previously an employed person, you had to pay contribution as a self-employed person based on the insurable wage you last paid as an employed person, and you pay that for 1 year. Unlike an employed person whose salary is paid on a weekly basis, a self-employed person might be paid on an ad hoc basis. But what the law requires you to do is to keep an aggregate of your salaries earned, and the deduction from that salary earned must be expenses directly related to the earnings, all right? And so at the end of the year, you'd get your aggregate salary and you divide that by 52, which will give you, which you would pay contribution during the ensuing year. And you do that every year. So even though, and again, you made the point where you may have made $5,000 for the month, but if it's determined that your average weekly insurable wage was only $800 for the month, then it's $800 you would pay every week, regardless.
Despite the fluctuation.
Despite the fluctuation, and even when there's no income. Even when there's no income, because...
Which is also a scary thing.
Right, which bear in mind that you use...
You're doing better on 1 month in comparison to one you didn't do. Okay, I understand.
Exactly. So, but at the end of the day, you may have only worked 6 months for the year, but your salary or your income for the year is divided by 52 weeks or 12 months in order to arrive at your average weekly insurable wage. Now, one of the challenges for self-employed person, they might cease to be a self-employed person during the course of the year and fail to advise the board that they no longer is self-employed. And so at the end of the year, you receive a bill saying you for the year, when in fact you may have ceased to be a self-employed person after 3 months. Now, a self-employed person who never worked previously and who enters self-employment, they then will determine the insurable wage on which they pay contribution. Bearing in mind at all times that your benefit wage on which you pay contributions. And oftentimes, a self-employed person would opt to pay on a very minimal amount. And then they come in and they submit a claim for sickness benefit. And when they realize that they were paying on $200 and their sickness benefit is only $120, then they say, no, man, I was making $600. But you didn't pay contribution on six.
But this is why you have... I had someone within NIB who was, what do you all call it?
An inspector?
An inspector, right? So I had an inspector who would say, Mr. Grant, how much you making? And I said, well, it fluctuates, which is true because you have to move with the economy, right?
Sure.
So how things are working based upon, that's how the money coming in. So I said, it fluctuates. I said, okay, Mr. Grant, we'll start you here. And every 6 months or every year, we'll come back, review this and increase it. Because when you need this, you're going to be able to ensure that you could be able to reap the benefits of this higher amount in comparison to you paying the kind of a lower amount. Is that why you have the inspectors to ensure that there's balance in that space?
Precisely. And they have a right, even as it would relate to domestic employers. Business houses. They have a right of entry. They can request the employer to provide wage records. Similarly, for self-employed persons, one of the challenges for self-employed persons is they pose the greatest challenge in terms of compliance because a number of them don't have a place of business. Some of them operate from their homes, from their cars, and as a result of that, they've been able to evade the inspector. But at the end of their work life, they're the persons who come to National Insurance only new, and they want to apply for some form of assistance. Mainly old age non-contributory pension. And then when they realize that a social investigation has to be done in order to determine the need, then they tend to go away.
They leave it alone. All right, so let's talk about these things. So what do you want to drive home today as we wrap this particular segment up? I like this, and I think that you guys should be able to do a little bit more of this. I think it's only from an economic standpoint. Socioeconomically, we are at a crunch, and everybody's kind of pinching pennies trying to be able to identify these things. But as we indicated, from an average standpoint, we're seeing workers live longer now. We get medicine, we get this, we get that, and we're living longer now. So in the event that you intend to be around, and tomorrow will come sooner rather than later, right? And so when tomorrow comes, you want to be able to ensure that you can be able to grab something and hold something for yourself. I see a lot of persons now saying, well, God, I can't live off of $300 a month. I can't live off of $400, but never taking into consideration the contributions of yesteryear,
Right.
to be able to ensure that they can live comfortably today. Talk to me about it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I love what you just said and how you phrased it. A lot of persons wait until the time that they want to for a benefit to come in and say, hey, or they find out, hey, contributions are missing. And at that time, they left that employer. So maybe they worked for Crystal Palace X amount of years ago, and that employer already shut down. Whether the employer left the country, went back to where they're from, maybe they predeceased us or something, and now we have to find these records. So what we want to tell persons is KYC, know your contributions. Twice a year, get your contribution statement. You don't have to come into NIB. You can request a PIN, and you can view your contribution statements at your convenience, anytime, anywhere, from your mobile phone, from your desktop, from your laptop, wherever. Look at your contribution statements. If there's information that's incorrect as it relates to your contributions, or anything's missing, you come in and you let us know.
Do you have a division within NIB that allows persons with this sort of fluidity to come in and say, I don't know if my employer paying my things. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay, talk to me about
That's
that.
the inspector department, the compliance department.
Yeah.
And we have an entire inspector force where every business or self-employed entity, whether it's a domestic employer, a large employer, a small employer, self-employed, everyone is assigned to an inspector whose job is to ensure compliance. That can be everything from, explaining what your obligations are, showing you how to calculate contributions based on employees or your own self-employed records. They can, if they have to, submit files for prosecution. If a employer or a self-employed person is having difficulty paying and they need some sort of payment plan, they can show you, how to apply for that X amount down,
I've gotten in this capacity that I sit here, I've gotten, this company hasn't paid my insurance, or that person hasn't paid my insurance. Do you enforce this particular perspective, ensuring that those persons get the strong arm of the law in the
Absolutely.
event that they don't pay? Because they got to pay.
We are empowered to
If I
prosecute.
weaken, my God, you got to pay.
Absolutely. So we are empowered to prosecute. But one of the things that NIB also has backing us is once the employer provides us with the wage records, we can go ahead and calculate any benefit that the employee may be entitled to even before we receive that payment. We will go after that payment, however we need to. But we will calculate the benefit that the employee is entitled to and seek whatever means we need to do.
This is exciting. I want to thank you. I want to thank both of you so very kindly for being able to sit here with me today and talk about these things. Is there a number or any information or website that persons can be able to get more information if they're still not clear about how things are happening?
So absolutely. In the first instance, if persons need to reach out to their inspector, you can call NIB. So it's just call NIB or 502-1500. We also have a website that's dedicated solely to the rate increase. So we have social media ads. We've broken it down entirely, information on our benefits and assistances. That's NIBrateincrease.com. That's www.nib-bahamas.com. We have a YouTube page, an Instagram page, a Facebook
Oh, y'all ain't playing no
page.
games. YouTube page?
We post all the time.
Anybody doing any like a little singing and dancing on it, right?
Maybe that'll come.
You're
But
wilding out right there.
we're
Guys,
ready.
y'all are really being able to tap into the technologies to ensure that no one could say, well, I didn't know.
Right.
The information wasn't there. Why don't you say something?
Right.
So the information's there for all.
It's there. Whether you need to see it in print, whether you need to see a video on it, we have it all.
You on TikTok yet?
We are on TikTok, actually. I'm sorry I forgot to mention that.
This is exciting stuff.
we gearing up for the youngsters.
But you know why this is important? Because a lot of them are tapping into different businesses. Entrepreneurialism is very important. So they need to be able to have access to this information.
Absolutely. And you know what? While we're at it, if you're going to put in for a benefit, don't wait until the time you need it. Persons putting in for retirement benefit 3 months before, get your forms together, make sure your contributions are in so that when you want that benefit to kick in, it's ready. Make sure your contributions are up to date. Check it every 6 months. Let us know if something's wrong. We're here to help.
Well, I like this. I like all these particular things in terms of being able to have a very good conversation about how things are happening and where we're moving forward to. Guys, make sure you check out increase.com or call NIB. What's the number again?
They can call NIB. So they can.
That's only
key
6
that in.
digits, though.
No, CALLNIB. It's 7.
Right?
And the direct line 502-1500. They can get us. There's other contact information on our website too.
Okay. Guys, all the information's there. Please, please, please find out more information about this. I'd love you guys to come and sit with me again to be able to dive deeper into this and really chomp it down, because I think that there's this apprehension, this kind of a pushback socially, and there's this kind of a desire deep within us to blame the government for everything. Can we have a clear conversation to talk about the future and the strength of our economy and being able to ensure that we're moving forward? I think this is a great approach to being able to do this from an educational standpoint. I must commend you and all those persons being able to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Baisden, Mr. Moxie, being able to sit with us here all the way from NIB. Anything else you guys want to say?
Nope.
No?
Thank you
I want to
for
thank you so very kindly for that. I think we should book something again.
I agree.
After independence now, not now. After independence.
Yeah.
After independence, right? So happy independence. What today is the beat day, Ralph? Have a good time, guys. We're going to take the quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The foundation.
Do you have uncontrollable debt? Are you ready to make that move to Fidelity for a stress-free future? These loans have a built-in savings plan that pays you unbeatable interest. Ask about our debt consolidation loans today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
The best athletes in the Bahamas will be on display at the B3A's Kids Athletics Invitational Junior and Senior National Championships, June 26 to 28 at the original Thomas A. Robinson Track and Field Stadium. Stephen Gardner, Devin Charlton, Shawnee Miller-Wevo, and so many more. The juniors are vying for the opportunity to represent the Bahamas at the World Under-20 Championships, and the seniors are gunning to qualify for the Paris Olympic Games, which are fast approaching on the road to Paris. The meet gets underway at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, June 26th, and Thursday, June 27th, and at 5 p.m. on Friday, June 28th. Gates open at 3 p.m. daily, and tickets can be purchased for as low as $20 at the original Thomas A. Robinson Track and Field Stadium. The B3A's Kids Athletics Invitational Junior and Senior National Championships, June 26 to 28 at the original Thomas A. Robinson Stadium. You don't want to miss this one.
Are you seeking exceptional health care beyond the traditional hospital setting? Introducing Doctors Hospital Clinics, your trusted destination for comprehensive care. Our full-service locations provide affordable services through our Loyalty Advantage membership program and NHI. Experience seamless care with our integrated health system, where your medical history travels with you, ensuring continuity of care. Book an appointment today at clinics.doctorshosp.com. We make primary care easy.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company, The Foundation, here live and in full effect on this beautiful Friday afternoon right here. Guys, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you have a beautiful weekend this weekend. I won't be decent, man. I mean, last weekend we sat here, we had good conversations, and we were talking about where we are, and really trying to be able to see if all of us could make it back to Monday in one piece. And we're still hearing issues of crime. I guess that's an expectation, but my God, let's just be as decent as possible. Let's be as decent as possible to keep ourselves together as we move from here. I think that there's sort of a charge in the environment, charge in the atmosphere, charge from a global standpoint for persons to be able to, they have ingested impatience. Does that make sense? There is a short fuse on almost everyone that's walking around. And we got to figure out a way to be able to deal with this. We got to figure out a way of how we move forward and being able to rectify these things accordingly. I just want to say that in the space of decency. I'm hoping that we don't have problems in my headphones. It seems distorted, but I'm hoping that we're good. Guys, just let me know. Hit me up with some information. Let's find out exactly what's what. So we didn't have an opportunity to be able to talk about these things. We had NIB at the top of the hour. So I got to be able to say this, pick up your Guardian newspaper. I know it's 12 o'clock, but all the information's in there. You can be able to pick that up and find out more information and see exactly what's what. Barbaric Government Task Force blasted. tax collection teams strategies are invasive. Invasive. I mean, that's the objective of a task force, to be invasive, right? Talk to me. When we get task force in these particular units to go into the shanty town, when we get task force in these units to be able to go into these particular spaces, it's invasive. I made a call this morning to find out more information about this, right? I made a call this morning, strategic, specific, high-level call. Who you talk to, Howard? None of your business, but let's be decent as we talk about these things. And this strategic call that I made this morning, I asked them to give me some more information of why this unit was created, why this unit was constructed, what was the expectation for these particular units. And they indicated to me, Howard, units are only created to be able to ensure that the government, which is the absolute last revenue, the government has no desire to create these elements. The government has no desire to be able to create these concepts and ideas to be able to be, like you say, invasive into these spaces. The government's only objective and responsibility is to ensure that they can go and collect the revenue to the coffers of the government. And the indication that I received, the information that I received is that on one level or another, if you've seen these persons, if they've shown up here, that means on paper, come on, man, talk to me. On paper, they have been left wanting. That there is a need to ensure that these persons are up to date in terms of their payment, in terms of them being able to be diligent in their particular capacity and paying their fair share in these particular spaces. And so a lot of persons will be kind of abrasive. They say, oh, you bring guns into this place and whatnot. I don't know what the thinking was for that. I don't know. I got another call this morning that says, Howard, the head of this particular task force is a police officer. When you're going up for tax revenue, why would you bring a police officer who has no expertise as it relates to tax or revenue collection? Won't you need someone from revenue collection? Won't you need someone who could be able to ensure that we can have this sort of a conversation to ensure that? Why are you bringing persons with the expectations that you could be able to grab monies from my cash register now? Is that the expectations of what's happening here? These are the conversations that are coming to me this morning. Let's see if you can read a little taste of the story and talk about it today. So it says, the government yesterday faced increased criticisms over the work of the Maritime Revenue Enhancement Task Force with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and the Employees Confederation, right, which is the BC, over the contempt being shown for the business community through invasive inspection strategies. And one businessman branding the barbaric, mindless, and completely archaic. My God, these are some heavy words these people use, these good business people, right? So it says that the work of the team of the enforcement and the government officials. Meanwhile, acting press secretary Keishla Adling told reporters that the government was reviewing the procedures used by the task force after Vice President of the CBS Bahamas, Bernard Burrows, with the Vice President of the CBS, armed officers entering their Southwest Plaza store unannounced to review the company's files. So we saw that. We saw the video, we saw the posture, we saw all those particular things. I'd like to talk about it. I'd like to be able to put that on the table. It's normally a laid-back Friday. We're going to have a good, decent conversation. I'd love you guys to be able to join me in that. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Anywhere for the family violence, 242-300-5720. Hit me up, 422-4796. Quick commercial break, guys. We're going to be right back after this.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation. Foundation.
You try to rest, roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers, for window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Masters, bring your masterpiece to life.
022361.
Looking for a breakfast that will wake up your taste buds and kickstart your day? Well, Burger King Nassau has got you covered with the new Angry Croissantwich. Made with fluffy eggs, melted cheese, jalapenos, a spicy sauce, and your choice of ham, sausage, or bacon on a warm croissant. Make it a combo and add our signature hash browns and your choice of coffee, tea, or orange juice for a great way to start your day. Spice up your breakfast with the new Angry Croissantwich combo only at Burger King Nassau.
Looking for great device deals and offers this summer? Look no further. Alive has special discounts on the latest smartphones, Ring devices, and accessories. Plus, as an Alive customer, you can expect exclusive yet extra offers and rewards, which means even more value for your money. We're talking more data, prizes, and surprises. Upgrade with us and experience the perfect summer with Alive in store or at bealive.com/deals.
Have you heard? Windsor Lakes is having an exclusive open house this Saturday, June 29th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tour 65 acres of lakefront luxury in premium electric vehicles. Learn about custom special financing options and more. Single family and multi-family lots available. See you this Saturday on Adelaide Road to visualize a serene way of life. Visit WindsorLakesBahamas.com to learn more or call 376-7731.
Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company, live in full effect. It's a beautiful day. Grateful to be in your company. It's a Friday. So I hope that you're good. We just want to be able to get into a conversation about social interaction and how our government is being able to take the approach of being able to see revenue collection. I just want to be as decent as possible as I say this. Maybe I should keep this for the 1 o'clock hour, but I got to start this off. When we indicated, now let's be decent. Let's be decent. Let's look from the historic value. Let's look at from a historic standpoint of how these things are going. Let's look from a global standpoint of why these things need to go. And let's look at from an enforcement standpoint of who is doing these things. Let's look at it, right? Let's look at it. Let's look at it historically. From a historic standpoint, we know that the Free National Movement has always been an administration that has been known, right, for the foreign national movement, right? That's what you've called it, right? You said they've put this foreign direct interest ahead. This is historic. This is what you've said about the Free National Movement. They have as of being able to bring things in, and so they create these spaces that foreigners get an opportunity. Even those persons who will agitate and say that the Commercial Enterprise Bill has done the exact same thing. I go in somewhere with this. Okay. So the Free National Movement has formality in their approach to be able to do these things. Historically, the PLP has always been the administration, the government that has always looked at the grassroots aspect to be able to say that we are our brother's helpers, we are our brother's keepers, we are drying every tear from every eye, we're lifting all boats with the rising tide, so forth and so on. This is the PLP. This is their language. It speaks directly to the grassroots. As a result of this particular language, there has not been significant enforcement. Historically, there has not been significant enforcement. There has been legislation, there has been white papers, there's been speculations, there has been casual conversations about what should happen. There's been select committees. There has not been enforcement. There have not been enforcement. Now, the relationships need to see the country move forward are financial. So when you start to be able to forge relationship with the IMF, when you start to forge relationship with the World Bank, when you forge relationship with these particular entities offshore, then you have to make sure that your books are taken care of. You have to. When they ensure that they got one loan to be able to do something, I can't remember exactly what their intent was to do. The assessment was you need to be able to create more spaces and more entrepreneurs in your country. I think it was a $23 million loan that was given out to the Free National Movement. Here comes the Jump Start, the Fresh Start program. Do you remember this? Okay, let's talk. When the PLP came in the second go-round, was it the second go-round? The second go-round. Now, this conversation had already existed prior. But when the PLP came in the second go-round with Perry Gladstone Christie, there was a necessity for being able to create this. There were speculations about tax. You remember the commercial that said, you think they really can do this tax thing? You think they can really do this value-added tax thing? They needed to do it. They needed to do it significantly. And in doing that, they needed to create this space that they had a revenue collection committee, a unit. You remember this? And being able to put someone over that, we found out even in the midst of this. The gentleman indicated, I care not to call his name, I won't be decent as possible. The gentleman indicated in an open forum, well, you know, I myself, just being able to bare his soul and saying that we've had issues, tribulations I myself haven't paid taxes for X amount of years. You remember this? And boom, the PLP administration had a responsibility to act. From then to now, responsibilities to ensure that they could enforce for the tax collection and the revenue for the government coffers. They do not have the finances to allow to be able to spill out. They don't. The government has taken on a very strong course of being able to deal with Grand Bahama Port Authority, not for the purposes of being able to trouble the relationship, but for the collection of this $357 million for the government's coffers. They need the money. They need the money. This is the assessment that I've come. The government needs the money. And we understand that. Everyone getting pinched. The more roadblocks you see, the more issues you see, the more maritime, what they call it? The Maritime Revenue Enforcement Task Force, all these particular things that are created is for the government to collect its revenue. Now, as it relates to the approach, it may be a little bit sharp. I want to say that. Things are shifting in this country. Technology is at the forefront in this country. Whether that's Canoe, whether that's Island Pay, whether that's Cash and Go, all these things are creating spaces that persons don't necessarily have to move. That same principle applies into every other subsector. Is someone going to give you cash out of their cash register? And this intimidation of being able to bring these guns in, that's not doing anything other than scaring my customers away. And that's it. I can't pay you if I don't have customers. I can't. Keishla Adderley, in her particular capacity as acting press secretary, being able to see about if the government could be able to curb their approach as it relates to being able to just show up into these people's businesses. I agree with her. And I would agree with the government. But y'all need the proper consultation. You do. You need proper consultation, and this intimidation Gestapo concept and idea that has worked in the past cannot work with this dispensation. This is what I often say. I often tell you that the era and the time that we are in as a nation, as a people, has shifted. Even the language you all use, nobody understands that. So when we get back, guys, I want to be able to talk about this barbaric. It's just a tradition. You have older fellas in place. I can't fight them. It worked before. There is an expectation that it would work again. There isn't balance in these boards. You need young people to say, well, this, even if you could mesh those ideas together and be able to appeal to where we are as a people right now, we'll be able to get some things done. Now, guys, let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, The Foundation. We're here live and in full effect, being able to chop these things down before I go anywhere, dive deeper into anything. I like to tell you, depending on what you're doing this weekend, the children are off. You might be celebrating your birthday, happy anniversary. Whatever you're celebrating this weekend, I'd like to say to you, go check out none other than Coco Plum Bistro. I might tell you, I had a beautiful time there. I always tell you about this kind of an idea that my son said, can we go back there to Coco Plum? He's 5 years old. Every time he wants to celebrate something, if we could go to Coco Plum, Daddy. Guys, go down to Coco Plum Bistro. It is absolutely beautiful. It's right on the Western Road when you're headed towards, like you're going towards Lyford Key, right there on the northern side, which is the right-hand side if you're headed towards Lyford Key. Right there in the Green Plaza, you could be able to get there. She actually good care of you. The most refreshing drinks, a beautiful environment, and the best, most sumptuous, succulent food on the island of Nassau. Go and check them out and have a beautiful time down there. Just let them know that Howard Grant sent you down there and enjoy yourself. I'd like to say that to you in preparation to the woman. She didn't get her eyelashes done. Let's be decent. She didn't get her eyelashes done. She got her nails done. She got her toes done. She just get her hair done. My God, she won't go somewhere. You don't know where she can go. It costs you money to get these things done. But now you got to figure out where you can get a woman. Go down to Coco Plum Bistro, enjoy yourself, man. Have a beautiful weekend. Guys, we're starting to talk about these things on the weekend as we get into this kind of approach as it relates to the tax revenue. The government of the Bahamas is in the posture that they need to collect the revenue for the country. They do not have the finances. They're looking for private-public partnerships. They need to be able to develop from an infrastructural standpoint. They need more programs, more ideas to be able to come to the forefront. They're almost like tethered, ensnared, slaved to the potential partner. As the partner be able to put stipulations on the table, you can see the negotiations coming to the forefront and saying, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. The government of the Bahamas needs to be able to tap deeper into its sovereignty, but they cannot do that without finances. Can I say this? To boast about the concept and idea of sovereignty means absolutely nothing without money. Can I say that? Can we talk like this? Your sovereignty means almost nothing without your ability to build on this particular space. The sovereignty and the access, the idea of being able to have a generational piece of property in Long Island, in Eleuthera, in 8 Mile Rock, wherever your generational piece of property is. It means absolutely nothing if you're not economically empowered to build on that space. The government of the Bahamas is in a posture and in a position of being able to acquire and have land. But they can't build what we need as a people to take us forward, to be able to boast of our sovereignty, boast of our independence, boast of our posture and position without the finances to take care of these things. Now, I will say that I believe that they're going about this the wrong way. And I believe that Keishla Adley, in her particular capacity as the acting press secretary, has indicated the exact same thing. That there needs to be a stop, review, and cancel of this concept and approach that they're taking, because you are heaping hot coals upon your head from a political standpoint. This is not good. Where have you been so far? CBS, Palm Key, the Marina. Where else you been? These are all established. Oh my God, I just want to be decent as I structure this accordingly. Lord, help me with my words, Jesus. These are all established businesses in our society. These businesses are, for the most part, in a space where they never bother with nobody. They stay there, they do their own thing, and so forth and so on. But as you identify this, this could be able to lead to a whirlwind of issues for the people. Howard, what are you talking about? From a political standpoint, you don't need people forging arms, locking arms together to be able to pull you down. Hubert Ingram could tell you that's what's going to happen. Hubert Ingram could tell you that. Hubert Ingram can tell you that if you go against, it don't matter how much you try to fix the roads, nobody care about that. What we care about is the sustainability of our businesses. Jiffy Cleaners is no more in Nassau. When you pass Jiffy Cleaners, this generation don't even know where Jiffy Cleaners was. Come on now, somebody talk to me. Businesses shut down as a result of the road. Now, we enjoy the road now, but the sacrifice that was made by business houses to ensure that we could be able to get to this space was a hefty price to pay. Let's shoot straight. It was a hefty price to pay. And the Free National Movement paid that price dearly. With the roads being digged up and the businesses had to be able to transition, the government of the Bahamas at the time, which was the Free National Movement, paid for the transition, the change, brought change to the administration also. Papa took a significant hit during that time to his legacy. He took a significant hit during that time to the sort of an idea that he was above board, that he was always progressive and productive, so forth and so on. He took a significant hit during that time. I believe that he's recouping the best he can now as it relates to his political collateral, but it took a significant hit during that time. The PLP is setting itself up for the exact same thing. There needs to be a better approach and a better way of dealing with your business. I just want to say that. There needs to be. It's no need to embarrass and insult, because that's all this is. This is shame. Whatever from an accounting standpoint that we've done or we haven't done can be dealt with from an administrative standpoint behind scenes. Anytime you come to my work to row with me, it ain't about the issue no more. It's about the embarrassment that you expect to bring. Does that make sense? No matter what argument you and your woman have, y'all could row in the car, row in the house, row. Brings that to your job. There is an expectation to take more from you than just merely what she desires at the onset. Whether that's the money for your babies, whether that's you're leaving, whatever. There is a desire to take more from you when you show up to the front door of a business establishment. And that's the only question that I had this morning. What is the expectations of being able to walk through the doors with guns cocked? Let's talk, man. Let's be straight. What was the expectation? What do you expect to get from me now? You come in there unannounced, no one know. I could have been out. You understand? So many things could have happened. The government of the Bahamas has done right by being able to assess this. I think they need to also come out specifically, have a press conference, and speak to the fact that our intent is not to embarrass, our intent is not to bring dismay, our intent is not to show our indifference and show our pushback for those persons that continue to be able to contribute to pay their bills, to pay their taxes, to pay these particular things. But the government of the Bahamas needs its revenue. That's it, man. Just be straight. Just be straight with us. You don't need to bring guns with you. Someone called me this morning and said, Howard, these people thought they was getting robbed. I said, that's a little bit much. No, Howard. Think about it. And I think about these particular businesses. Why would you want to fuel businesses again to lock arms? Hubert Ingram could tell you better than this. Ethric Bowe, my good friend, who was the head of the Coconut Grove Committee that actually forged protest against the government of the day, could tell you better than this. You do not go against the business community of the country. You don't do that. As an administration, you don't do that. The only thing you're doing is empowering them against you. Now, calls are being made all across the board to try to figure out, hey, listen, who's running in this constituency over here? All right, we're going to put some money behind them. We're going to put some money. We got to get rid of this PLP administration. This is what you're doing. This is exactly what you're doing. Does it make sense? This is what you're doing. And you got to fix this. You got to fix this approach. You got to fix this kind of an idea that, listen, this is not what our intent was. But we want to be able to collect our revenue. And even if you have to come to the forefront and said the government of the Bahamas has not targeted these particular institutions or these businesses or organizations, the government of the Bahamas historically has had issues with this business. Boom, 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 boom. It's just because the last conversation we had was this sort of an idea of transparency. We've talked about transparency as it relates to the King Air. We've talked about this kind of a you don't need to tell us after. We're mature now. We may have been young children, naive to the nature of business back in the 70s. Talk to me. We were naive. As we grew and came to the 90s, we were adolescents. young adults if even. But now, as a nation, with the access and opportunities that we have through education, through our proximity, through our desire to learn and know more, you got to treat us better than this. You got to be decent. You got to be decent. I just want to be decent. The government of the Bahamas needs to reevaluate its posture. Now, the Free National Movement also needs to reevaluate its posture. We just listened to the chairman of the Free National Movement, Dr. Dwayne Sands, being able to talk more specifically about the new hospital that the government has identified over 50 acres to be able to develop. We just listened to him. And it's eerily familiar to when we heard Donald Trump talk about China. When he says, China, you remember that? We saw Dr. Sands being able to talk about this Chinese hospital. And I thought it was strange because you cannot forget the last time we saw 8,000 Chinese coming, 8,150 to be exact, Chinese. Come on. That was a structure that was designed by Hubert Alexander Ingram. Come on. That was a structure that was introduced. The concept and idea of the ratio of Chinese workers to Bahamian workers was a structure that was introduced by Hubert Alexander Ingram. Am I correct? Someone call me. So let's not be foreign to this particular concept. Everyone sat in the House of Assembly with the acceptance of this great gift that the Chinese had spent and being able to do these things. And then the additional $10 million for the development of these particular things. Now it seems as though you want to be able to take on this kind of a line that divides the Bahamian people one to another. I think it's unfair. I think we could have clarity of being able to talk about issues rather than being able to throw this sort of an idea that of the orient of people. Yeah. These persons are from these Chinese people or these Haitian people or these people or that people. Listen, when are we as Bahamian people, as locals, going to come to an understanding that for the development that we like to envision, for the big eyes that we have about the potential that exists in the Bahamas, for us to have all this great technology, it will take more than a 200 and some thousand person workforce. It'll take minds strategically. It'll take minds. It'll take passion. It'll take relationships. It'll take proximity to strategic locations. You got to be able to forge those partnerships. And in forging those partnerships, why would you take on this posture and position to insult someone? In the event that the Free National Movement finds itself victorious at the polls come the next general election, and you step into this particular place, realize that from an economic standpoint, all the finances needed to be able to grow the country has been gutted significantly. Who are you going to ask for money? Who? It can't be the IMF. It can't be the World Bank. It's going to be China. At a 2% rate at a 2% interest rate over the course of 20 years, it will be China. You will do that. You will. They have structured it so that you have no other options. They have made it easy for you to ask them for. Don't put yourself in the position where you seem like you're mocking them. Oh, this Chinese hospital. I just want to be decent as I say this. Let's talk with clarity. Let's talk with understanding. Let's talk about the growth and development of the country. And let's talk about how this will be necessary for all to be able to get to the table. We could do this without this kind of abrasive approach and this barbaric approach with being able to carry guns. We could do this with incivility. We are a civil, educated people. I think our governments, whether it be administration or royal opposition, those that sit in office or those in the royal opposition, will do well by being able to understand that the Bahamian people are elevated. And you need to now interact with us on a different level. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Anywhere from the family of islands, 242-300-5720. Hit me up, 422-4796, 422-4796. It's a text is coming through. Say, hey, Howard, great show as usual. Jail is hot. I ain't going nowhere to jail. There's no AC in there. Acquire land is thief and land. Okay, right? As usual, I hope that BPL don't get no bright ideas. It's information that's coming through. Say, hey, Howard, why don't we go to the business east of the plaza, next door on the corner? East of the plaza, next door on the corner. I think you're indecent. Do you mean the one with the bank? And you're doing a lot, sir. You're doing a lot. I just had to figure out, what do you mean east of the plaza? You're doing a lot, sir. You're doing a lot, okay? I know why you did that. I can see what you're doing there. So, Howard, I don't think that that is the issue. People goes into businesses expecting to make a profit and to pay taxes and other requirements. Government has the legal avenue to charge them for any violation by using brute force. But using brute force is not the solution or civilized way to do it. The PLP administration has tomorrow. I gotta read this text. Y'all gotta fix this for me, please. The PLP way, as they squander public funds and blatantly refuse to answer any questions about it, they publicly call the Auditor General Office garbage. It's a text is coming through. Your text is kind of cryptic, so please fix that up for me. I'll read it again. All right? So please find out how to work out the pension amount for any retirement. Guys, there's a call coming through. Caller on the line with us live. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good, man. What's happening?
I'm fine, thanks. Didn't this agency that is now going around doing the records check, they sent a memo to all those businesses is to come in, if you have a problem with them, come in and so they can work it out. And so now they're on the road checking all businesses. I mean, people talking about Gestapo, the way things are being done. Listen, Howard, in the U.S., when the IRS come, don't they come with guns? When immigration come, don't they come with guns? Huh? What's the difference, Howard? You know?
No, but that's after an infraction, though.
But listen to me, Howard.
So this is an infraction then? Well, then shut the people's business
in
down.
the United States of America, Howard. You don't even know sometime when the IRS is going to pounce on you. You don't even know when immigration is going to come. But remember now, this is a multifaceted agency. This is not just one agency that is coming to your stores, okay? They're not only checking for those who own inland revenue, they're also checking immigration matters. They're checking several different things all at the same time. Mm-hmm. People need to be honest with themselves. Mm-hmm. They could be done a little better. But like I said,
okay, now we get to you think they need to bring them big gun? You think they need the gun?
Listen, Howard.
I just want to be decent.
If the defense force is involved, you know of them going around with small guns?
No.
Those persons with the big guns are there, defense force officers, okay, along with immigration officers. I don't see the big major holiday blue about this whole issue, but like I say, it could be done a little better. That's all I could find a problem with. Okay.
Wow. I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you so much for your telephone call, guys. The lines are wide open. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Anywhere from the family of islands, 242-300-5720. Says inland revenue is now the IRS, Internal Revenue section. Okay, let's have a clear conversation. I think we get further by being able to add honesty to this, right? I think we get further when we start to deduce these things and make a determination as to whether or not we'd like it to happen to me. All right? If I got a restaurant and everyone's in there sitting down and I had an issue, I hadn't paid my bill, so forth and so on, there needs to be formality. And in the event that you're going to be able to come into my restaurant with all these guns, you might as well just shut it down. I mean, just in my view. You might as well just shifted the mood in my place. Persons are asking questions. There's social speculations. We live in a very small community. Why would you want to bring indifference to my business like this? There can be a better approach. There can be a better approach. These are established businesses. These are businesses that we continue to be able to call on. There are businesses, people I could call name right now. My God, I just want to be decent. There are people I could call name right now. Haven't paid their business license. Haven't paid their NIB. Their business still open. My God. These people, the person after person after person has gone to NIB and made a complaint and say that these particular people have not paid me. That I've had a baby working for these people for the past X amount of years and they have never paid my NIB contribution. I can't even get my maternity leave. I can't even get my paternity pay. Simply because these persons haven't done what they were supposed to do. No guns show up yet. The people are still on there. The people are still live in effect, being able to do these things. These are what's happening. There's an imbalance in our society, a significant imbalance. And that is why people feel like you're targeting them. That's just the issue. There are people who you know, based upon their affiliation from a political standpoint or otherwise, they feel as though they're content. We've heard many stories of people who haven't paid their bills. Whether that's their loan, whether that's their NIB bill, whether that's their taxes, they haven't done it. And they're content with it. They owe water and sewage. And we don't see the sort of pouncing on these particular entities. That's why people feel targeted. That's why. Because it's imbalance. It's not necessarily what you've done, it's who you know. The sort of a curry favor approach to enforcement is the issue. I'm not saying that that's what's happening now. Please get me clear. I'm not saying that that's what's happening with these particular entities, but that is the sentiment that exists. That's the cloud that exists over our country. We are infused, charged from a political standpoint. And so when you are the first person that's been identified, if there is not transparency, that the government has provided all these names at the forefront, what's the difference? You remember when you used to go to Winn-Dixie back in the day, in Grand Bahama. We used to go to Winn-Dixie back in the day, right? In 8 Mile, we had a Winn-Dixie. And people would pay with Sun Card, or they would pay with check. And the check bounced, or the Sun Card wasn't good, or whatever. They're on the back of the wall. Three big poster. Your name, Brighton Bowl, or you remember that? Yeah? Your name would be in the back there, just off that wall. What's the difference of the government being able to create a list and put that out on social media and put that out on these particular places to say that these institutions have not taken care of their bill? There got to be a better way than being able to show up with guns. I just want to say that. Got to be a better way. Let's make a determination of how we can be able to approach these things, guys. I see a telephone call. Let me take this quick commercial break and be right back after this.
The foundation.
Stay informed with the Nassau Guardian, your news delivered. Are you tired of chasing down the latest news? Why not have it delivered right to your doorstep? The Nassau Guardian is now offering an unbeatable home delivery service. Special subscription rates. 3 months, just $44.80. 6 months, only $79.52. 1 year, an amazing value at $143.36. Your daily news fix all year round. Don't miss out on this opportunity to keep up with the latest in local and international news, sports, business, and entertainment. Subscribe today. Call us at 302-2360 or 302-2353. Our friendly staff is waiting to assist you with your subscription. The Nassau Guardian. We've got the news you need. Don't wait. Call now and let us bring the world to your door.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kingdom National Parkinson Foundation presents its 24th Charity Gala, Saturday, June 29, 2024, at the Grand Ballroom Grand Hyatt Adventure Center. And here to set the mood right and the night tight is none other than international artist Johnny Gill.
You got me singing my. 'Cause you're good tonight.
Also the Defense Force Band and the Rhythm Band. You can purchase your tickets at Carey's Fabric on Mackey Street or Signature Styles Marathon Road. Cocktails at 6:45 p.m. and dinner at 7:45 p.m. And then you can have your fill of Johnny Gill.
One thing is true. God has blessed me. Let's get the mood right.
Bonneville Bones, established in 1970, is the leader in men's fashion in the Bahamas. We're conveniently located in the Mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza, and fully stocked with everything you need for all occasions. Our Harbor Bay location is one door north of Alive, with the black and white signage of Bonneville Boutique. Both locations are open from 10 to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Bonneville Bones and Bonneville Boutique, still the leader in men's fashion. Located in the Mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza.
Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center. You're friendly and affordable. You get all of your groceries, kids' lunch snacks, and vendor snacks items at the best prices in town. Don't believe us? Find us on Market Street in the red, white, and black building south of Chesapeake Road. We don't stock anything. We just buy deals, so you better get there first. Call us today at 6980123 or WhatsApp 557-2522 or follow us on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates. Remember, always make us your first stop.
Experience the immediate care you deserve at Doctors Hospital Urgent Care. When emergency strikes, trust our expert physicians for fast, quality care. With extended hours and cutting-edge medical technology, we're always ready to serve you. Don't wait or take risks with your health. Visit our urgent care suite at Doctors Hospital West on Blake Road for immediate, trusted, and best care.
Great news! Ron's Electric Motors' new location on Cowpen Road, right next to Island Luck, is open Saturdays and Sundays. So for those needing repairs on electric motors, generators, welding machines, water pumps, battery chargers, electric lifts, transformers, and power tools, Ron's Cowpen Road location can have you up and running on weekends. Don't forget, you can still visit Ron's Electric Motors on Wolf Road and Claridge Road, and now Ron's new location on Cowpen Road. Dial 356-0249 or 323-5267.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Foundation. Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company, live and in full effect on this beautiful day, Friday. Guys, have a good, decent time over the weekend. I want you to be able to do that. The lines are wide open, 323-6232, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. Anywhere for the family of violence, 242-300, 5720. Hit me up, 422-4796. Call on the line with us live. Go ahead.
Yes, help me, Howard.
Hey, yes, sir.
Howard, I just want to be decent.
Okay, let's go. This is a good day.
I want to be decent.
Let's do it.
Listen, so Franklin Wilson has multiple companies.
Okay.
Was any of his companies targeted?
But we don't know his books.
Was our home target one of the biggest contractors in this company?
No.
In this country?
No.
Okay. You see, you have to be very careful as a government how you do things because it could seem to be political, okay? That previous caller called by the USA, that's their culture. This isn't our culture. We're tactics. We are not used to this, okay? Now, they are used to whatever they do in the States, and because they do it, don't mean that we have to do it. That's not our culture, and we elected these people. They said, we are your servants. We are here to make this country better for all Bahamians. Yes, the government needs the money. We know the government needs the money. For what? To pay consultants? We just increased the consultancy by $10 million. $70 million a year we're giving these people for what, Howard? People are suffering. The air condition I understand in the hospital is broken down and whatnot. Yes, we know that the government needs revenues and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to realize that you have to work hand in hand with the business community because if those people decide to close down the business, like you and Ingham say, some of them white people, they had money 200 years before us.
Mm-hmm.
They could afford to close down their business and send the unemployment. What are you going to do with all them people?
Well, we saw that with Gold Rock and Grand Bahama.
This government, they seem to adopt it. Would they say that the opposition will have its say and the government will have its way? And that's how they seem to be governing this country.
Wow.
They, like Mr. Cooper said, The Bahamian people elected us, and we will govern how we see fit.
Wow.
And so Mr. Howard, a lot to say Red Fort.
Thank you, my brother. I do appreciate your telephone call. Two things I want to be able to talk about. He says culture and tactics. This is not the culture of our country, but the culture in this country has shifted from a political standpoint, has become more stern over the past 2 decades. It has. It was very lackadaisical in its approach. You never thought that the government would ever get anything done. The government had a responsibility for being able to ensure these things were getting done. We saw the hammer, quote unquote, the hammer started to be able to come down under the Ingram administration in the 90s. In the first beginning of the 2000s, we didn't see anything happen much with the PLP, much to the historic concept and the idea of what the PLP stood for. Back in 2007, you saw Ingram come back, being able to put the hammer down again to ensure that enforcement happened, and some of the bitter medicine, and people were disdained and indifferent with his posture and approach. In 2012, the PLP recognized that they had to do the exact same thing. They recognized that, with Michael Halkitis at the helm in the Ministry of Finances, with Ryan Pinder in the Ministry of Services also being able to structure that concept and whatnot. We saw the PLP putting the hammer down. Hey, there's only 2 ways we could do this. Either you let it slide or make it happen. Even the First Lady of the country, she felt the weight of this under her administration. You forget to say. Under her administration, under the PLP. Now, if they accommodated her when she had to pay her bill and the taxes and so forth and so on, that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the PLP had to show you better than they could tell you. They had to show you that even our own, we get to make sure that they pay their taxes. This is the example that's being set for the entire country. Now, as we look at this, there is an indifference. And when you call Franklin Wilson name, I don't know this man books. He could have 8 million businesses in this country, not because of his affiliation that the government is just going to show up. We don't know his books. If the government has showed up to your space, they're saying to me that there's an infraction, that you haven't paid your bill. That's it. They didn't do this casually, because everyone is not screaming out that the government just show up. They didn't do this casually. They showed up significantly. Now, I'm hoping that there is balance going forward. Can I say that? On Mother's Day, I hope there's balance. On Father's Day, I hope there's balance. On Valentine's Day, I hope there's balance. On Easter, I hope there's balance. During Christmas time, I hope that there is significant balance. On Carmichael Road and everywhere else, people selling crab and GIF. That's the indifference. That people are showing up. That they're producing and they have their licenses and so forth and so on. If you want to get us in line, you got to start from the least to the greatest. Or simultaneously start all over the place. You cannot show this kind of a concept and idea that people could even say, my God, you're only taking care of your people, eh? Why are you all targeting the white people? My God. I do my best not to say that to you all. But that's what it seems like. And that's the calls that I'm getting. Don't allow these things to happen. You are a political organization who depends on the support of the electorate, the people, to put you back in place. It ain't only PLPs that are going to put you in there. Let's think about what we're doing. Let's do so with decency and in order. If you're shifting the culture of this country, do so with formality and transparency. Hey, no, now we're not used to this, but this is something that we're going to have to get used to. Let's do so with transparency and accountability. Let me take a next telephone call. Caller on the line with us live. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller. Hello?
Howard.
Hey.
A special good afternoon. Everything cool, man. You can hear me clear?
Yeah, man. What's happening with you?
Right there, man. Just listening to your conversation, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I called to make some, maybe about three to four quick points.
Okay.
As it relates to the discussion. Let me start with where you just ended. As it relates to the show of force in the Revenue Task Force and other arms of the government showing up to the businesses the other day, which has gained widespread talk in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, Howard, there's always two sides, perhaps in some instances even three sides to a story, right? Ultimately, Howard, I believe it is very important to appreciate that persons who are executing certain kinds of duties in the country
Mm-hmm.
are being placed in a very volatile, a very vulnerable, a very dangerous position, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When they are seeking to execute their duties, and we don't want a situation to develop that would be reported on widely, where similar to what happened with the guy on Paradise Island, the gentleman from Paradise Island, who was executing a turn off with the BPL facility where the foreigner attacked him. You remember that?
A couple of years ago.
No, this just happened. Maybe last year or something like that, where the person was escorted straight to the airport thereafter. He was an expat, right? And so circumstances could develop where persons who are officials of the government executing certain sensitive tasks of the government could be placed in very dangerous positions. And so I want to establish that first and foremost. And so there's a need. There isn't a want. There's a need, an absolute need for protection, for security, right? Now, where I give the government wrong, Howard, is how it displayed that protection and that force. I believe that the government could have accomplished the exact same objective with plainclothes police officers,
Yes.
right? Traveling with
Concealed
the
weapons.
government officials seeking to execute their duties as mandated.
But
by
concealed
law.
weapons.
Pardon me?
But concealed weapons.
Yes, right. Undercover or officers who are dressed in plain clothing who identify themselves upon entry of the business. I don't believe that the government has to, if it doesn't wish, especially if it's the intent to use the element of surprise to pre-announce their arrival to any business doorstep in the country. I personally know persons, Howard, who in other more prominent business communities who have been approached by the task force
Mm-hmm.
as well, right? The circumstances were slightly different, but bearing in mind, it's critical that you take all precautions when executing certain sensitive aspects of government business where mandatory, not questionable, not if, a security personnel or persons must be in place to ensure order. Right? You
I can accept that.
understand
I can accept that. Yes, I
Right.
feel like that's important.
And so from that regard, it just comes down to approach and execution and how you go about doing it.
Yeah.
Right? But without compromising and without letting up on persons' protection, who, just like the consumers and the businesses, must be protected at all costs. Right? Second point, Howard. Second point. You can hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can
brother?
hear you. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Listening to Dr. Sands and in the 1 o'clock report from the Guardian, play it on your program.
I listen.
And also listening to the head of the Contractors Association. I believe they are both playing political games.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Sands especially is playing, in my view, he's playing a very disingenuous and dangerous political game.
But you expect that though. You know what I said? I don't expect disingenuous, but in his posture as a chairman of the organization, he has to be able to come from the angle that says that his organization can be able to do it better. He has to be able to do that.
No, Howard, I do not expect that. What I expect from a responsible person such as Dr. Sands, someone who sits at the top echelons in our society and in the country, is a responsible approach to executing his responsibilities as the national chairman of the FNM. Not a disingenuous and a dangerous one, Howard, okay? Not a one where, if you want to talk facts, as you started to say, as I've explained in weeks during this conversation, you had the situation where even as far back as the Atlantis, back in 1995, 1996,
yeah, under Hubert Ingram,
98,
under Hubert Ingram,
where as it relates to the foreign labor component,
yes.
I don't wish to call any country's name, but the foreign labor component was just as high, perhaps even higher than it was at Bahama.
The ratio.
That was negotiated by an F&M administration, right?
Yeah.
Come down again to Bahama. That labor component was negotiated directly by Hubert Ingram, right? And it took him flying to China in order to get it moving.
We remember this, yeah.
Pardon me?
We remember.
Yes, and when you look at the difference, and this is where my concern comes in with what the head of the Contractors Association had to say, which I find completely disingenuous because he knows the information. I remember him being very vocal, and I remember all of the reports from the then Prime Minister Christie, the then head representative for the China Construction Group, et cetera, where that labor component was 55% Bahamian and 45% foreign. And that at that time, Howard, they didn't believe that such a labor component could be negotiated. They did not believe it. But Christie pulled a hat trick out of nowhere for them. The Christie and Davis administration, because what they may not understand, and I was waiting for an opportunity to reveal this, Howard. Prime Minister Davis has a special relationship with the China State Construction Grouping people. Special relationship. And so things that he can get done on behalf of the Bahamian people, it would be most difficult for any other administration to get done because of this relationship, Howard. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Howard?
I hear what you're saying, but I don't know.
Howard,
let me
give you a live example. Let me give you a live example. And this is something that my government and the cabinet ministers beat me to, because I was simply waiting for the opportune time to bring it to the attention of the Bahamian people. But I believe it was Minister Keith Bell who brought it to the Bahamian people, or Prime Minister Davis. 20 million. Do you remember when the F&M was trying to get the funding to restructure BPL? They went out and they were seeking to float bonds. But in order to do that, they had to procure the services of specialists who can help them look the world over to find the financing. And they had to spend $20 million before they even got a deal in hand. $20 million of the Bahamian taxpayer money was spent, and they still did not get the deal in hand, Howard. Why? Because the interest rate would have been way too high. They were incapable of securing and negotiating a deal such as what the Davis-led or the Davis-Cooper-led administration was able to negotiate with the Chinese government to get a concessionary rate of 2%. They were incapable of securing that. That is why they didn't move forward.
Anton, the Chinese given anybody, including me and you and other 9 people who want to get together to open up a business, the Chinese government will give you the opportunity and give you 2% over the same period of time. It ain't matter who it is.
That is not true, my brother.
Anton, I sat here with the then ambassador Dai-Kun Lee, and being able to have a conversation with her, she indicated the exact same thing. The Belt and Road Project does it for everyone, whether you're in Jamaica, whether you're in Argentina.
That is a relationship that was negotiated from one government with another government, not individuals, Howard. From one government to another government. Individuals will not and cannot access those same concessions. No way. Unless you are talking individuals whose gross investment is in the billions of dollars. Howard, we ain't talking all that jokey money here. We ain't talking monopoly money.
This is the belt, $290 million. This is the Belt and Road Project. They've done the exact same thing for Jamaica with building the road in Jamaica. They've done the exact same thing for them. This is what the interest rate is.
Do you hear what you just said, Howard? Jamaica, not an individual in Jamaica. The Jamaican government.
Yes.
The Bahamas government. The F&M-led government was incapable of securing a concessionary rate. That is why they could not move ahead with the restructuring of BPL, Howard.
Okay.
Understand what I'm saying to you? And getting back to the point, Howard, that I'm making.
No, but my point was only that the relationship between the government of the Bahamas and the relationship between Philip Brave Davis as an individual who is also head of state and China is the same relationship that stretches far and wide. I'm telling you, the Chinese government will do this for entities, whether they're in Africa, South Africa. I'm telling you, Anton, this is on people.
Let me take you back to something else, Howard. Do you recall when the Grand Lucayan, our Lucayo on Grand Bahama, was being sold?
Now we're talking Belton Road now, Belton Road, which is fairly new.
Understand the point. Understand the point that I'm trying to make, Howard. This was under the minister-led F&M administration. It took for Hubert Ingram coming out of the woodworks at a time when his voice was not welcome at the leadership at the helm and the F&M at the time to tell former Prime Minister, look, man, humble yourself and fly down to Hong Kong. Fly down there and have a conversation, a respectful one, where you can shake the man's hands, look him in the eyes, and make a request of him as the Bahamian Prime Minister, where he would give you the time of day and perhaps give you the opportunity. But ministers did not do it, Howard. It takes relationships. Hubert Ingram also had that relationship with the Chinese government. Perry Christie had that relationship with the Chinese government. Philip Brave Davis has that relationship even better than both of those prime ministers. You hear what I'm saying, you, Howard? But let me get back to the point.
Yeah.
Can you hear me clearly, Howard?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And so
I gotta let you. So wrap it up quick because I got this line later.
No problem, Howard. I can go quick. Mm-hmm. As it relates to the point and the labor component of 55% Bahamian labor to 45% foreign labor, that component is what was supposed to be maintained ultimately at the end of that project. Because one could appreciate, if you know anything about construction, at varying points of construction, you will require a high level of technical ability. At varying points of construction, you would require a lesser percentage of technical and more strenuous labor component of construction. And therefore, you would find that at different points of construction during the Point Hotel, the foreign labor component was higher. But ultimately, when you look at the numbers of Bahamians that was employed at that site versus the numbers of foreigners who was employed at that site, I think it actually came in even under 55%. And the F&M could not fathom how the PLP was able to get that done.
We got to stretch this conversation out.
And right now. And you're talking right now, as I said, Howard, as I'm taking the privilege to reveal, we're talking right now about a prime minister who has a better relationship with the Chinese influencers through their government than former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram and former Prime Minister Perry.
I like what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I appreciate you, Anton. Thank you so much.
Thank
you, man. Thank you. I appreciate what you're saying, Anton, to be able to kind of put the Prime Minister, which is your leader of your organization, in the light that only he can do this. However, the Chinese open their hands and their arms to anybody within this hemisphere who wishes to come to them to borrow money. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. I just want to be decent. Somebody call me and tell me the truth. The Belton Road project is for organization. We talk about this. We sat down with Dai Quinn Ling. She sat right here in the office, in the studio. And Dai Quinn Ling said, anybody, government, states, entities, organizations, once we identify it, we deduce it, we will give you that and you get 2%. It don't matter who you is. No matter who you is, whether it's Hubert Ingram, whether it's Michael Pintard, whether it's Howard Grant, whether it's Anton, it don't matter. This is something that they're offering in the hemisphere. This is the Belton Road project. This is the Belton Road project. Over 20 years, they will give you this opportunity. Let's just be decent. We talked with her directly. I spoke with her on air and off air about this concept. That's why I was excited to go to China. I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to sit down with them people and forge this relationship that you claim that our prime minister have. I want to have that too. I just want to be decent as we talk about these things because opportunities are not only confined to, when you're doing business on this particular level, opportunities are not only confined to government entities. What? Is Marillion got more money than that? Billions. This is only $290 million. Ismailian got 3-point-some billion. Let's just shoot straight and have these kind of a clear conversations where we are. One more telephone call before we get out of here. Call on the line is live. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Good, man. Boy, it's frustrating trying to get in there. You need to give Anton his own show, man. Doesn't sound like he don't be quiet. Listen, I have a question for you. So you say you agree with the way that the government is handling this situation with collecting revenue?
No, I didn't say I agree with it. I thought it was a very aggressive approach. I understand the principle, but I didn't necessarily agree with the approach. I don't believe that this is a cultural approach that we have, and I think that the government should take another look at it and step back and say that they're going to do that. That's what Keisha Adderley indicated, that they'll revise the approach, but we know what the outcome is. We want to be able to collect the revenue for the government. You understand?
No, so the reality is, like I said, any business owner listening to these talk shows right now and experiencing what we're going through here in the Bahamas, I find this is outrageous. One. Let me explain something quick as a business owner in the Bahamas. For you to get your business license in the Bahamas, all of these things that the government supposedly is going around and checking on needs to be adhered. So if you have a current business license for 2024, that means that your real property tax is paid. That means that your national insurance is paid. That means that if you want to go ahead and import anything, let's take CBS, for example, they would have to be compliant. So for these people to go ahead and just walk into a business, come into my business, one of my businesses, we have a tour operation. We take tourists out 5 days a week. And to have these police officers come on our property, and when I say our property, it's our property because we pay real property tax. We hire Bahamians. We've gone through this. For these guys to come in there with guns, go through all of the things. Now think about this for a second. Imagine this happening in your establishment, your business. You're compliant in every regard. Everything is automated today. It's not like back in the day where everything was paper generated, this and that. You have a current, active business license. All of these things are accurate. Everything is above board.
So
why
what you're saying?
Why would you go out there and do that when you know that? This is the point. Like,
so
I
if you're compliant, why would they show up? You say that if you're compliant, if you already got your business license, that means you went through the scrutiny already. If they already scrutinized you and you're above board, why show up in this particular manner?
So this is the question. Why would you do that? You listen to Anton call and other people call and they say these things, right? Obviously, they're not sitting in the seat of a business owner and knowing all of the rigors, all of the frustrations that you have to go through to operate and run a business in this country. If the government tomorrow, like for example, one of my businesses, I'm in retail. If the government tomorrow wanted to go ahead and slam brakes on me for not being compliant in any regard, all they would do is suspend my business license. Without a current business license, you cannot import anything into this country.
Absolutely.
So for them to take all of those people with guns to walk into CBS, and if they were to come into my establishment, I would ask them if they were crazy, because the point is everything that you need, you can sit down at any one of these departments and fill it out. I get an email every single month from National Insurance, a general email that says, make sure that all of your employees are up to date with their national insurance, this and that. You cannot get any of these government agency certificates or licenses without being compliant. So I don't know what the show of force is for, but I can tell you it's embarrassing. I like
what you said. I'd love to have a further conversation with you and see if we can be able to get you on here. Can you take my number down? 827-0111, please.
What was the number, sorry?
827-0111. Let's see if we can set something up and you can be able to sit with me. I appreciate your telephone call.
Not a problem.
827-0111. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show today. Ensure that you enjoy your weekend. Have a beautiful weekend. This is a charged conversation. This is a charged conversation. A lot of persons are texting in, calling in, and trying to be able to find out exactly where we are. Let's have further conversation. I'm going to see you on Monday. God spare life right here on The Foundation.
Foundation. The Foundation.